From the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, fly over country to be specific. This guy down here is Blake Walley. My name is Brian Engelman. Today, whoa, there we go. Today is Tuesday, September the 5th, 2023. Make sure you're following Blake on Twitter at, what are you at? At TV's Blake Walley, Walley, and check him out. He is at thenewamericanmedia.com. Today, we are going to jump into all the news, and we're going to give you all of the information as fast as we can. We're going to tear through this hour and have a blast doing it. So we are going to discuss the powers that be. Are they priming America for a new election season pandemic? Agree or disagree? We should mandate masks again to help slow the spread of COVID. Agree or disagree? Legacy media reporters are unaware they are regime propagandists. Agree or disagree? Elon Musk should sue the Anti-Defamation League for defamation. Agree or disagree? The ADL and all neo-Nazis should be permanently banned on Twitter. Agree or disagree? The media is controlled by intel agencies with hosts reading propaganda. Agree or disagree?
That's last week's headline. It's all right.
Oh, did we already? Oh, okay. I guess these are extra headlines then. Well, there's no need to go over those. We'll just stick to the top 6 or 7 that we have today. I was just going through. Okay, cool. Then let's jump into the show. All right. By the way, if you want to find countervailing views, whatever that means, whatever they want you to think of, just read all that stuff at rumor control, who.int, cdc.gov, and all of that jazz, because they have opinions as well. So, Blake, agree or disagree that the powers that be, in quotations, are priming America for new election pandemic season?
I'm going to agree. I think we all see that it's coming. They're going to try to do something to stop the new MAGA wave, perhaps. If people want to vote for Trump in droves, they're going to do something to shut things down and make that hard to do, including the mail-in balloting, the ballot stuffing, the manufacturing, the harvesting, and the less oversight, the better. And yes, and of course, use the same playbook in 2020 because that seemed to work so well.
And they're really going to try it again. That's really the plan. They're going after it again. What Whoopi Goldberg has corona. Like I said, wait a minute, aren't they on strike? Why are they creating new content? Don't they have writers? It's just those 5 cackling hens up there. I thought they were on strike. I don't pay any attention to them or Strike Force 5, that cringe Force 5. They came out and all of the late night hosts that nobody's listening to anymore. They came out and said, "Hey guys, we're still here." And we went, "Oh, hey, that's cool. We don't care." So that happened. And then I just thought,
Brian, keep talking. You said my microphone's not working. Something's not right. So I'm just replugging it in, trying not to get.
No worries. It's always an effort made to try to, tame technology. It's a difficult task, but we're trying to tame it each and every day. Try that. How you sound? Oh, this is where Blake would normally be testing his new microphone out to see if that.
How's that working? All right.
That is night and day difference. Just like how last week you caught me where this wasn't plugged in. Yeah, I caught you. It sounded like you were in a fishbowl underneath the stairs.
Yeah, you should have told me that pre-show. That's all good. So
I didn't notice. But we caught it now. But I was saying that Whoopi Goldberg's. Oh no, she caught corona, and then Karine Jean-Pierre is out there saying, "Oh, the president and 6 feet." I'm like, is this a time warp from 3 years ago? Are they really going to try this again? I can't believe they're going back to this well. This well is empty, but
worked the first time, and they have no reason to have election integrity and transparency and oversight. So why wouldn't they? They're going to stick to the same thing and just say, "Hey, we're in a pandemic. What are you going to do? You don't want to be a super spreader at the events." This is the playbook. So I fully expect them to do that again. And yes, as you said with The View, actually, this is the wrong one. Where is the other one?
Well, anything
A
about the
couple of,
View is usually wrong. So, I mean, I guess it's a little redundant to say such a thing.
right. So here is, yes, this is Joe Biden and now Whoopi having COVID. We can try to run this quick clip, assuming this is going to work. Let's try it.
As you can see, Whoopi is not here. She has COVID. Yes, it's back. It's back.
It's back.
But she's on the mend. She's on the tail end, and she'll probably be back this week. But sorry, she's not. For those.
I don't know how I would watch The View without Whoopi, Brian. I don't know about you. It's just not the same, you know?
I heard the
Dynamic
crowd.
is still not.
Oh, it's back. It's back. It's back.
Yeah, so Whoopi Goldberg has COVID, misses the season 27 premiere of The View.
I'm sorry. We're on season 27 of this nonsense. 27 years of this?
It sounds crazy. I know. It doesn't seem like it's been around that long. Yeah, going back into the 90s. I don't remember what it was like back then. I don't remember it until, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
This was on during the Monica Lewinsky stuff. Did they have takes on Monica Lewinsky?
Yeah, I don't remember that. I mean, I remember Lewinsky, I remember that, but I don't remember The View covering it. I don't remember that being a thing.
Wow. So what are they saying? They said Jill Biden, the handler to the Weekend at Bernie's in chief, the resident who's taking up space there. She is being said, they're purporting to have what are they calling it now? Are they just calling it COVID? Are they calling it?
Yeah, test positive for COVID-19 despite both the vax and the booster. I'm sure multiple. But this happened yesterday for Labor Day. A little surprise. So, yes, First Lady Jill Biden testing positive, experiencing mild symptoms, and staying at their home in Delaware. Maybe it's just an excuse to extend their vacation. I don't know.
That is the thing that he does best. You know, and the flip side of that is obviously, well, every day that Biden's not actively working to undermine the United States of America, that's a better day than, you know, him getting involved in corrupt business dealings and treason and sedition and a coup of the sitting United States president and all the things that, you know, Afghanistan and the energy policy and getting trampled by the Federal Reserve to double the interest rates and, you know, all the things. I guess a day without Biden's a better day than a day with Biden. But yeah, I mean, they used to go after President Trump because he'd golf. Yeah. And you get a lot of business done on a golf course, by the way. But yeah, so they're just enamored with this Joe Biden feller. For the life of me, I don't get it, sir.
Either do I. But maybe it's all just a big script. But it looks like, yeah, they're, according to Kyle Becker, this is how they're priming America to bring COVID lockdowns for the election. How do you know this is going to continue? It's only going to escalate, and this is only this year. Imagine what's going to happen next year as more people are getting probably another double boost between now and then.
Well, you know, if we're doing the going in the repeat machine, because we are going to have Trump versus Biden, of course, most people don't expect Biden to make it. They probably Gavin Newsom. Some people are enamored with Barack Hussein Obama's significant other and thinks that person would be the heir apparent. I don't get it.
Big Mike, yep, probably.
Yeah,
Capable, slick, but I think it's different
call
factions.
that person that, yes, some people do.
Yeah, different factions in the Democratic Party, and Obama would like to hold on to his power, whereas Gavin Newsom would probably bring in a different regime, and he wouldn't take orders from Obama.
And RFK Jr. has actual groundswell of support. You're a fan of his. I'm definitely a fan of a couple of the things that he has to say, and I appreciate his candor. I think, you know, this election just being a big middle finger to the deep state demons who will just explode people's heads on TV. Like, you know, we should be scared of the deep state. Well, they're already killing us on TV. Like, yeah. Well, you better not say anything or else they might continue abusing us. like they're currently doing, like they've been doing for a long time. Yeah, that part. Okay, well, that family was, take Chappaquiddick out and all the rum running past. I'm not going to say these are perfect human beings or a perfect family, but they exploded his uncle's brain during a parade and blamed it on some kook, and then they killed the kook. Just as a big middle finger to the deep state. It would be nice to see Trump, and maybe Trump brings in RFK to be on the cabinet, maybe even as VP. I'm just all about the middle finger vote this year. None of the establishments, they don't get a seat at the table this year. But what I was starting to get at, I was saying it's a repeat of a couple of years ago, and we also have another race-based situation now. Now we have people protesting in the streets. I know that story isn't in our stack, but it really feels like they're trying to just duplicate 2020. It's kind of absurd. But what's this article you pulled up, Blake?
This one's out of the Gateway Pundit, but it's and make sure we check the countervailing views at the bottom of the screen and check them just to make sure. But it looks like even the CDC now admitting that the vaccinated likely have a higher risk of infection with new COVID variant. Is that potentially because it's weakening people's immune system, or that it's kind of like how the flu vaccine may target a particular strain or a few different strains, but there's hundreds or maybe even thousands of different strains. So is it going to be able to catch the one? They can make an estimated guess and try to figure out which strain is the most likely to affect people. But I don't know. Do they need one per strain? Do you need one for the Omicron and the Delta and whatever? What are the other ones? I don't know. Sigma, Beta, Alpha, whatever other ones they're going to come up with that are going to be the new the new awful strain, the new Ebola. I'm not sure, but there are different variants and new boosters. So I don't know how this is going to affect people, but people are, we got to do their own research. So take it at your own risk and check the countervailing views. And I am not a medical professional, but it seems like all the medical professionals we trusted got a lot of things wrong the first time. So ultimately, that's going to be a tough decision on the individual level. But the administration is pushing for it, despite the fact that even the first lady got it again, even though she's supposed to be immunized against it.
Yeah, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. I don't even want to talk about this story. They're doing this again, and it highlights just how patently the choreographed and orchestrated this all is. And then it also once again highlights, if you took this liquid into your system that's supposed to protect you from this, but you still get it, we're back at this again. We're on this same loop. It's the snake eating its own tail again. I'm a bit at a loss here. Like I'm just stunned.
Brian, I'm convinced I live in a simulation now, and none of this makes any sense.
Well,
it should be obvious, and yet it's not, and we just have to continue to go along with it. So I don't get it. This can't be real. How are we sitting here years later calling out the easy common sense that we should be seeing, occasionally getting a few things wrong here and there, but yet the world isn't changing much. Seems to be a waste of time. Sometimes it feels like it, but someone's got to say something. Otherwise, we're just going to roll over for the tyranny that's seems to be manifesting itself, and just watching in horror as the general public just seems to go along with the most laughable and transparent propaganda. But again, we don't want to say that. We've got to check the countervailing views, because we could get shut down for even mentioning that. Even if we have 30 views on this thing. YouTube's going to come down and strike and make sure I don't speak to anybody for a month for daring to contradict their establishment views. So here we are.
Well, let's pivot from that particular part to the second part of this story.
Yeah.
Once again, meet your new story. It's the same as your old story. Agree or disagree, Blake? We should mandate masks again to help slow the spread of COVID.
Absolutely not. And I think this is going to be even a more difficult sell this time around, as there's actually some pushback from within their establishment. So it was completely absurd the first time, but people went along with it to be polite. And because part of it is just people are sheep-like and afraid to stand up to absurdities, especially when it comes from these establishment voices, these high-profile doctors. So here we go. Let me find it. I got a couple of stories on this. I do believe, if I can find one. Where is it? Okay, sorry.
Okay, so we're certain that Karine Jean-Pierre, she was talking about Jill Biden, not Joe Biden.
Yeah, it was Jill.
I thought she was talking about Joe Biden, but it's Jill. Okay.
Nope, that's First Lady. But I would assume, I don't know, they're going to be in close proximity. You would think that he would get it too, but I don't know. Especially he's been quadruple jabbed and boosted. But we've even got Dr. Birx has now done a 180, saying that there should not be any new mask mandates after she went along with it the first time. Dr. Deborah Birx, probably all remember her, former military AIDS researcher with no training experience or publications in epidemiology or public health policy, found herself leading a White House task force, which would play a seminal role in dictating how the country locked down for the pandemic. And her and Anthony Fauci were grinning like Cheshire cats with duper's delight as they laid out the unprecedented lockdown and masking strategy, which they later admitted they pulled out of their asses. But she says this time we don't need to mandate. In response to reports that an increasing number of hospitals and businesses are now requiring masks again. But meanwhile, Fauci, the guy who was funding risky bad coronavirus research in Wuhan, but it came naturally. It was not from the lab, of course, as he said. Which he had scientists scramble, yes, to create and bolster propaganda denying the lab leak, went on to CNN to push for mask mandates again, claiming that there have been many studies to indicate the benefit of wearing masks. Remember they wanted to double and then triple masks too?
Yeah, that was after they said don't wear the masks. Remember? Because they didn't have enough of the N95, so they said, no, they don't do anything. Don't bother with them. Lying about that, then they said, no, you need to wear them because they'll protect you, which they don't. And it causes you to breathe in bacteria all day. What? Leading to bacterial pneumonia? Potentially. Not stopping, not really changing much of anything. Anyway, you have Fauci keyed up here, right? This one is and by the way, if you saw what happened in Maui, the Maui wildfires, there were reports. I don't think this is the same story that you're ready to play, but they said, you can't wear these masks to protect you from wildfire residue because the wildfire particles are too big. They'll go right through your masks. And you're like, yeah, we covered this on a previous show, Blake, but yeah, the wildfire particulates this big, and there's this little speck, this little grain, that's the COVID virus. Completely contradicting this story that wearing a face diaper is going to really do anything other than just psychologically destroy you. So what's this one? Who's he talking to here? Smirkanish, or who is that?
Yeah, it's Smirkanish. This is like cartoon character out of CNN, but he did push back.
Smirkanish is actually, a lot of people say he's probably one of the best they have over there. I don't know if you really hate him with as much of vigor, But I universally, I've heard over and over again, people, I don't like them, I don't like this, I don't like this party or that party or this channel or that channel, but Smirkanish is okay. I've heard
Okay.
people say that.
That could be. I mean, he did well in this interview, so I'll give him credit where it's due. So let's run it.
Brett Stevens in The Times talked about Cochrane. Put that on the screen. The most rigorous and comprehensive analysis of scientific studies conducted on the efficacy of masks for reducing the spread of respiratory illness, including COVID-19, was published last month. Its conclusions, said Tom Jefferson, the Oxford epidemiologist who is the lead author, were unambiguous. There is just no evidence that masks, make any difference, he told the journalist Mayan Damasi, full stop. But wait, hold on. What about the N95 masks as opposed to the lower quality surgical or cloth masks? Makes no difference. None of it, he said. Well, what about the studies that initially persuaded policymakers to impose mask mandates? They were convinced by non-randomized studies, flawed observational studies. How do we get beyond that finding of that particular review?
Yeah, but there are other studies, Michael, that show at an individual level for individual. When you're talking about the effect on the epidemic or the pandemic as a whole, the data are less strong.
The data are less strong. Yes, he's scrambling to make sense. He's not used to having that pushback. He's used to just having people roll the red carpet out and let them just do all the talking and get away with anything. But
on an individual level, he claims that helps, but the individuals changing their numbers aren't going to change the average of the group. That is just absurd. That is the those are the ramblings of a third grade student who's had a little too much red dye number 20 at lunch. These are the drunken boasts of an inebriated boomer sitting at the end of your local bar. They make no damn sense. So he's saying that the data that proves there is no effect. No. That's about on a group level. I see there's other studies that change it on an individual level. But it doesn't change the group numbers. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. And we're done with masks. We're not doing this. We're not doing masks.
I agree. And as Jocelyn said, we need to indict him. And so maybe we can get more clearer answers to these things.
Okay, so who's going to indict him? Do we have a district attorney in Florida? I guess there's only a couple of red states, right? Okay, so if he's trying to push a policy that's going to impact Florida residents, tell me that he has standing. Who's going to indict Fauci already? Why is he still around? Why is he still even being listened to? Why has he not been charged?
Well,
will any red state Republican stand up to this guy?
I don't know. They run the Congress, and Rand Paul in the Senate says he's got him dead to rights. It's time to bring up criminal charges, but the DOJ is not going to do anything. So I don't know. I don't know if the Republicans can do it. They certainly should, because he did catastrophic damage, and he was lying the whole time. And he's still lying. He's still trying to save face for the masks. You can't just say, that was a mistake. We did the best we could with the information we had at the time. But, this is all kind of seems like it's all been planned from the very beginning. So it's kind of they wanted this. They want to do it again. And Fauci will go along with it. He'll go along with anything to save himself because he's looking at major criminal charges. It was an epic fall from grace as a trusted doctor and federal official to somebody who's been lying and funding and basically let this pandemic happen. It's got his fingerprints all over it, and he also was covering everything up. I mean, it's what, serial killer, mass murder. It's at the highest scope imaginable with this guy. And even this guy on CNN's not having it anymore. So we'll see. Smirkanish. Yes. All right. Well, we're not doing it again.
And let's move on to the next topic. I don't know what else to say. I can't believe we're back at this crap. I can't believe this is where we are. But oh well. All right. Felt like this is a good segue here.
Okay.
Are the lying legacy media reporters unaware that they are regime propagandists? Lying legacy media reporters are unaware that they're regime propagandists. Agree or disagree with that, Blake? They're unaware.
That's a really tough question. I'm going to say some of them are. I don't know whether to say
let's do the split.
agree or
If
disagree.
you think it's tough, who do you think is unaware at this point that they are just media propagandists? I think I will portend that everybody at CNN and CNBC know exactly what the score is. Do you think there are some people in those two organizations that are unaware of what their job is? It's we are run by the CIA, the FBI. They push fake stories. They're in love with mass murder and genocide and warfare, the military-industrial complex. We will lie. We will cheat. We will frame people to keep power and control because we are running the Democrat Party and your media outlet. Do you think there's a single person at CNN or MSNBC that is unaware of who's calling the shots and writing the checks? I would say no. There's no way in hell that anyone working at those two networks doesn't realize that they are only there to be the propaganda arm for the deep state Democrat demons who are trying to destroy this planet.
I think that's fair. I think, most people on the cable news hosts, these people that are getting paid the big bucks to read scripts. And some are probably connected to intelligence agencies, has been pointed out. So they're willing to go on record to just, shovel that stuff directly from the Pentagon or the DNC or what have you. To further their career. But some, I don't know. I think I want to say there's got to be some that are just useful idiots and they just think they're doing the right thing. A lot of them probably more in social media or the bloggers and such. But I do want to point out, because this kind of came from a clip with the Washington Post, a journalist who was on a podcast who was caught. Because I'd love to catch a lot of these people. I want to show like a lot of the people, my friends or family or whoever, because I know they trust a lot of these news people. And I would just love to isolate them so I could, get into a conversation with one of these journalists in front of my friends and family so that they can see these people are liars. That's hollow. So, but I'm going to point this one out because I guess. And
I saw a deep dive. I saw Scott Adams went through his hoax list. He has like a 15 hoax stories list. Maybe it's 20 at this point.
Oh, I had that. I can pull that up too. I do have that somewhere.
Yeah, because he looked into this guy that you're about to play. He goes, well, okay, so let's see what else he pushed this lie. Oh, he pushed this lie. Oh, he also pushed this lie. Okay, all he does is push lies. Just like Pelosi, just like Biden, just like CNN, just like MSNBC, just like all of the late night comedy hosts. Like they're known propagandists. They are pushing, they're peddling lies, known lies.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's disgusting. They let these people, they think that they're, high profile journalists. And at a time that was like an incredibly prestigious position to be like a journalist at the Washington Post or the New York Times or any of these big legacy outlets. That was a huge deal. But they actually did some real journalism for a time. And then now they've just been, slowly over the years have just been taken over. And now they are just flaming propagandists for the regime. And here is what happens when you act, they can sit there and talk a big game when there's no pushback. But once somebody starts to ask a few questions, it all crumbles apart. And then these people start freaking out because they're not journalists. And I don't know if some of them, it's like a wake up call or they're so in their little bubbles where, they really believe themselves to be, they got to be in those positions because they were great at journalism. It's like, no, they're just great because they're willing to, go along with the absurdity, and they know that if they push certain views and stay away from other things, it'll further their career. And so let's check this reporter out. It's a 1-minute clip. Here we go.
What do you take from the text message to his adult daughter, Hunter's text message?
Now he's talking about Joe Biden and Hunter and Ashley
I have to
Biden.
give 50% of my income to Pop.
I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means.
Well,
I know it's circumstantial evidence, and you prefer that.
No,
to
what
direct
what
evidence.
could it be?
I have no idea.
But doesn't it?
I don't know.
Well,
I appreciate your.
Has anybody asked her?
I don't know. I don't know.
Don't you think somebody should ask her?
Okay. Like I'm not. I just said I don't know, and I don't know what to make of it, so I have nothing else to say about it.
Yeah,
what
but
do you want me to say?
Yeah, but you say there's no evidence, but then there's a text message where he says, "I give Pop 50% of my money." That's evidence.
Okay. Well, okay, fine.
So
it's evidence. I appreciate you having me on.
It doesn't. That something like that. Who do you think is more? I listen to that and I'm saying,
Am I?
you can free to go.
I feel you want me to leave, like just walk out in the middle of this, because that way you can
you can go.
Right.
Is this a standard? Really, this is the way the Washington Post handles people who disagree with them.
When I agree to be on for 45 minutes,
go,
and then
go.
I get on for an hour and 15. Yeah, that after a while I go.
It's really sickening that this is happening right now, and those are basic questions that journalists should be asking. So there's a big business scandal going on with Joe and Hunter or whatever, and there's all these text messages, and it should be obvious, and there should be curiosity from everybody asking what's going on here. This compromises the executive branch. You've got a corrupt president and his just goofball crackhead son making business deals through text messages, big glaring red flags, and journalists show zero curiosity to investigate. This is supposed to be what their job is. This is like the scoop of a lifetime, to find this massive scandal and to unravel it. This is what made careers. But not anymore. They protect the regime. They protect the establishment. And in this case, it's the corrupt Biden. Meanwhile, they're going after Trump for any little thing they can find. So, yeah, this was very telling to see this guy exposed on basic questions that any journalist should know. This is part of the reason I didn't want to ever get into journalism, because it was, stuff like this. It was being nosy and getting into questions and making people uncomfortable and, doing deadline. There was all kinds of things I didn't like about journalism, but now these people, it's a totally different industry now. And now you don't have to do anything. You could just, I could be an influencer if I hadn't, didn't have any kind of record of things I've done in the past, but I could go online. They'd be happy to just hand me talking points, and I could, praise Biden and trash Trump all day and get paid for it. But now they would call that journalism. It's not. So,
yeah, this guy just ignoring.
He's ready to quit. He's going to quit because
in the room.
Yeah, he can't handle it.
Well, I will give him a little bit of a pass here.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, let me give him a little bit of a pass.
All right.
For example, today, I don't know if you caught it, but AJ got to talk with Vivek. They had their sit down. Anomaly. And he was going, and there was a lot of information they were trying to get to. I don't know if it was a 30-minute. I wasn't really watching the clock, but
was it pre-recorded? I thought it was going to be pre-recorded, and he was asking for people to bring in their questions or something. I didn't know it had already aired yet.
It aired at 12:30 Eastern time, and I was like, I feel like checking this out. I'm very curious. I'm very intrigued by AJ's turn away from Trump and turn away from certain politicians, and he said he voted for Bernie in the past. So it's just interesting to me. It's interesting, but I think it's fair that Vivek needs to he needs to handle some difficult questions. And as he said it multiple times during the interview, he said, I appreciate your skepticism. That was like a nice backhanded compliment of, but you have to. He says, I'm a firm believer in, how am I going to run for president if I can't handle an interview? So I at least appreciate that. But I know there were multiple times I mean, AJ was moving fast and he was trying to hit all of the things. Maybe they gave him 20 minutes, maybe 30, but at some point it had crossed the line into the allotted time has run out. And so this guy, Phil Bump, is that his name?
Let me, yeah, I think so. Let me
What a great name. Like if you had to give a fake name, like an AI generated name to the sound effect or the sound that goes dum da dum da dum da 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 dum, like Phil Bump. It just seems like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon character, just Dopey Dog or something. Hi, I'm Phil Bump. Da dum da dum.
Right.
But anyway, so what happened during AJ's interview? I know there was a weird tangent, but he did kind of say, okay, well, we've reached the end, and he said, but I do have a couple more, and he said, well, I appreciate your, and I you know what, let's do another quick one or two, because at some point he was 10 minutes into the next guy's interview, so he was cutting into somebody else's time that was already booked. So when this guy, this Phil Bump, he's like, I gave you 45 minutes. We're an hour 15 in. What do you want? I did the interview. Like, I'm out of time. I got to go. I think there's some level of decorum that I'll grant a pass on, but I will not grant him a pass on ignoring the obvious. He's given half of his money to his dad. Like, there's evidence here. You have to call it evidence, or else you can't be taken seriously. And so I think that point came across. But I will give this Phil Bump a little bit of leeway. It's like whether it's Vivek telling AJ I'm out of time, all right, fine, 2 more quick questions, or this guy, like, I'm 30 minutes over. Like, I got 100 things to do today. I gave you an hour of my time. Like, I'll give him a little credit there. I'll give him a little pass, a slight pass, but not on his answer. Not on his answer being unable to, pin the tail on the Biden crime family. It's all the information's there. It's all right in front of us. It's not complicated. So anyway, yeah, but I guess this guy has a long track record of pushing fake stories. All of the classic hoax stories from the past 5 years or 6 years about President Donald Trump. So yeah, it's nice to see when the masks come off of the Scooby-Doo characters at the end.
Right. So that is the Phil Bump, as Scott Adams says, the Phil Bump meltdown to learn how fake news is the norm. And yes, this is the hoax quiz. And yes, they should hand these out to a lot of people. Need to know how they have been. Who's gotten things right in the last few years? What's the track record of the media?
It's a little too small on my screen. Can you read? Can you buzz through the hoaxes?
Yeah, so it's a hoax quiz, and there's how many of the hoaxes do you still believe are true? One, we got the Russian collusion hoax. We have the Steele dossier hooker story. We have Russia paying bounties on U.S. soldiers. Trump calling neo-Nazis fine people. Trump suggesting drinking or injecting bleach to fight COVID. Trump overfed the fish in Japan. Trump cleared protesters with tear gas for a Bible photo op. Hunter's laptop was Russian disinformation. Elections were fair because no court found major fraud. January 6th was an insurrection to overthrow the government.
That's the silliest.
It's because Trump tried to grab the steering wheel of the beast. That was one of my favorites when they brought that one out. Cassidy Hutchinson, that embarrassing testimony. That was funny. Awesome. Border Patrol agents whipping legal border crossers. Trump storing nuclear secrets at Mar-a-Lago, Governor Whitmer kidnapping plot, Trump mocking reporters' disability, government spending to subsidize green products reduces inflation, Trump inviting Nick Fuentes to dinner at Mar-a-Lago, Twittergate was a dud. We learned nothing new. Twitter doesn't shadow ban, and lastly, Twitter hate speech got worse under Musk.
And there's also Kyle Rittenhouse being a bad guy, and there's also Bubba Wallace, the fake race hoax, and it's also the Jussie Smollett fake race hoax. There's a million hoaxes from the past 6 years, but anyway,
the track record is just garbage.
The
independent media and the conspiracy theorists are looking really good over the last few years. It's not even close.
Right. Well, it is nice to be able to call some of these people out. That's for sure. Let's buzz over to this next story because, you mentioned that laughable insurrection word. And this one's going to get to the heart of, some Republicans came into the House, especially Speaker McCarthy. He promised something and that hasn't come through, and we're still kind of waiting for it. So, by the way, let's go ahead and press play. This might be one of our new intros. Let's see if it plays.
Cool.
Looks like it played. I had to hit reset. I had to restart my whole studio to get it to load in there. But yeah, we are truly a nation in distress. That's what the upside down flag means. It means like, oh my God, we need to signal to anyone that can see we have been overtaken. We are in peril. We are a nation in distress, surely. And, after what was supposed to be a red wave in 2022 turned into a little bit less of that, but the Republicans did take over the House, and Speaker McCarthy did have a pledge. He did promise to release the January 6th footage. So, Blake, his pledge has been broken. Agree or disagree? Has he had enough time? It's only been 6 or 7 or 8 months now. Has he broken the pledge? Or is there still time to redeem himself? As Enrique Tarrio's facing 33 years. Joe Biggs just got 17. So I think 17 or 13. What's the difference at this point? Part of that day, a big part of that day, is being obfuscated intentionally by the powers that be. What do you say on this issue?
Yeah, I agree. I thought he would be doing more by now, or hoped he would. Not that I completely trust him at all. Not at all. They got him on a tight leash. He was supposed to do this. He did give some footage to Just the News with John Solomon, and it was one other outlet too, I thought.
Julie Kelly.
Yeah, that's still not going to be enough. He should be giving it to the Epic Times, maybe the Gateway Pundit. There's
the New American Media. I called them earlier today, and I sent the email again. I've called them every couple of weeks for 7-8 months now. Promises we'll get back to you, this, that, and the other. It's like, dude, this is important. The lies of an insurrection are very important to unravel. The fact that they pushed this story for 2 years just so they could try to use the 14th Amendment to remove the end game is this. They're going to try to remove President Trump, from the ballots. They're going to say, oh, no, see, he did an insurrection. He did an insurrection. Yeah, he did an insurrection. Well, he wasn't convicted of any of it. Right, but we're going to do double jeopardy. We're going to try to hit him twice on that, even though the investigation in Congress, the kangaroo court, did not prove that. And then I believe it's illegally destroyed all the evidence that they gathered from that. They were supposed to hold on to that, and they deleted all of the unselect committee's footage. And I believe that's very big no-no, which pretty much gives away and lets you know that something is rotten in Denmark. But so what do we do with Speaker McCarthy here? He said, I promise that we will get this footage out. He has not. He gave it to Tucker. What happened? They instantly got that shaman guy removed because he wasn't violent. He didn't do anything. He's just walking around. Like they instantly had to put him on home. Like they got him out of the damn jail. There are still people who haven't had their trial yet. That picture of that one guy sleeping on the floor it's in a utility closet. It's like people are literally still being tortured over this. It was a mostly peaceful riot, and then some people did some things. This was 500,000 people, more than 500,000 people, the equivalent of 8 football stadiums dumping out at once, and a couple of people did a couple of things. Not a single shot was fired. That's more than you can say about the BLM protests where Kamala was raising money to get them bailed out, where Maxine Waters is getting their face at the gasoline stations. I mean, nonstop chaos during 2020. Nobody faced any repercussions. But if it's a Republican president and you have Republican supporters who say, I don't believe anything about this last election, and they go, rah, 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 robble, robble, robble. Okay, it's kind of important to know who was actually breaking through the windows. on camera and then turning to blame somebody else. It's important to know who Ray Epps was and who moved barricades, who unlocked the magnetized doors, who go down the list. There's a laundry list of 100 things that don't add up with this story at all. It seems like a complete frame job, especially when President Trump on multiple occasions requested National Guard support to help out the event. And Bowser and Pelosi and the chief at the Capitol turned him down at every turn. They wanted this to happen. They were framing him for this to happen. And Mike Pence, if he wasn't in on it, he must be playing the perfect role. He needs to get an Oscar when the Q storm comes around and see, we caught him. Pence was just playing a role. He's been a good guy all along. It sure seems like Pence was in on it, just like Pelosi, just like Biden, just like the media, just like social media, all in on it to frame President Trump, to keep him from running a second time so he can win a third election. By the way, visit cisa.gov/rumor control if you don't believe anything that you just heard and if you want to continue to believing the Pelosi narrative of that day. But what do we do here, Blake? What do we do with Speaker McCarthy? How do we sort this out? There's a lot of suggestion that there were federal infiltrators that were causing a majority or at least a significant portion of the breaches and the violence that day.
Right. Yeah, and they're hiding evidence. They don't want to release it because it basically destroys their narrative of what they want the public to believe. And it's also come in handy. It's helped exonerate the QAnon shaman. And it could be exonerate a bunch of these other political prisoners, but they don't want that. They want to keep that narrative that it was an insurrection started by Trump. That way they can prevent him from running again and jail all their opposition and silence. So it seems like the pledge has been broken, according to Julie Kelly for the GOP and McCarthy to release all of these videos. Yeah, why not? Let everybody find out for themselves. It's one of the biggest stories. There's a ton of video footage, and we should all get a taste of it and see what's going on. Get to all of the bottom of everything. But no, they want to cover it all up, and it's really a scary era for democracy in this country when they are sitting on all this evidence. There's supposed to be a discovery process. It should be transparent, but it's not. So we've been taken over. We've been hijacked from enemies within. So anyway,
and there's also so Laura Loomer put this out. She says Newsweek is now reporting on what I exposed this weekend. The FBI interrogated certain American January 6ers over whether they knew a Ukrainian spy operative by the name of Sergei Dibinin, who the FBI knows penetrated the U.S. Capitol on J6 with other Ukrainian operatives. It was never known before I exposed this weekend the fact that the FBI has known about this active war by Ukraine against the United States on J6. They've never released this to the public. And Newsweek confirmed that when they reached out to the FBI yesterday to get a statement about the reporting, the FBI did not provide a comment. She can also report that the U.S. intelligence agencies used their media operatives to falsely catalog Dibinin as Russian when they knew all along that he was a Ukrainian operative spy. It's a massive scandal she uncovered, and she'd like to know, where's the mainstream? Don't call them mainstream, they're lying legacy media. Where are they to report on what was discovered? FBI interrogated American citizens who they jailed and asked them if they knew a Ukrainian spy was at the Capitol. Now, to reward Ukraine for their active war against the U.S., Joe Biden has sent Ukraine $200 billion. This is treason at the highest levels. The United States Capitol was breached by Ukrainian spy Dibinin, and the FBI confirmed it internally and has kept it secret. She exposed the fact that the FBI knows the Capitol was breached, so why isn't the media investigating? That's on our Twitter feed. I probably should have just pulled that up, but that's at American_media_ on X. Make sure you're following us. But yeah, Blake, there's really a lack of trust. There's a massive lack of trust on this issue. There is no sane, intellectually honest person. You could be crazy or you could be a liar, but if you're not crazy and you're not a liar, not a single human could believe that that was an insurrection. There's no way that all of those Second Amendment supporting people would have showed up to overthrow the government unarmed and not fire a single shot. That is the most absurd thing I have ever heard. It was a protest. It was a political protest, and it got a little out of hand. And the only person shot and killed was when a veteran mother who was unarmed was killed by a man of another race. And suddenly that was swept under the rug. That was the only shot fired that day. There was never an insurrection. So in the effort of setting the story straight here, since so many lies have been told, McCarthy pledged to get his speakership role. I will release the footage. He has not. So is this time? Is this a vote of no confidence, Blake? I reached out to him today. I spoke with Matt and with Reagan, and I sent another media request to get access to the footage. Are we ready for a vote of no confidence here?
Yeah, it's time to just recall him. I mean, if he's not, that was one of the main things he was supposed to do. That was the agreement. And if he's not going to do it, then find somebody else that will. But who knows how they've turned the tables behind us in Washington. I don't know how all of that works, but they seem to be pulled back. And meanwhile, we're watching these guys get heavy sentences like we just saw with Joe Biggs last week. And there could be evidence in there that exonerates them. You might get a little time. You might be involved in a little bit of mischief. And some people definitely were, and they should get sentences, some of them. But it's outrageous what they're actually doing. So I'm all about just pulling McCarthy. If they need to. At least people need to get the information. That they shouldn't be hiding that. So you just that can't be allowed. But I don't know who's going to push for it.
I did.
Who in Washington? Who has some real power? Well, we're neutered, on the fringes of the interwebs. We got actual people in Washington that are supposed to do something.
McCarthy promised, and so I'm cashing in that chip. He promised. All right, so when can we view the footage? Blake, get ready, because if we get access to the skiff, we're gonna be making a phone call to a third person. We're gonna be headed out there to DC, and we're gonna be viewing all this footage. So, yeah, Tucker did release some of it, Jocelyn, and it got him removed from Fox. Say what you will about the lawsuit, but that footage being released really pissed some people off.
Yeah, it did. I don't know if he still has access to it or if that was through Fox. And once he was fired, that's probably what they did, is to make sure that he wasn't going to release anymore. There is a big cover-up at play. And so they want everyone in the country to believe, and the world, that it was an insurrection caused by Trump, and that way they can keep the reins of power forever.
Well, this leads into the next story, Blake. It's about MAGA. I dig that animation. It is definitely got an ominous vibe to it.
Nice.
But it's ominous times. I can't click on the thing. I don't know why I can't click on the caption. I got to get rid of the existing caption to get rid of. How do I do this?
Too many captions.
I can't do it. If you want to pull up the MAGA caption, like I literally can't press the button.
Okay, let's see if I can find it.
Hold on. There we go. Yeah, it's a little glitchy today. Go figure. I'm calling out McCarthy, and I'm literally calling his office, and then things are getting a little glitchy. My handlers are bleep, 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 bleep. Pay attention to this guy. Okay, so Blake, agree or disagree that another MAGA-style presidential victory imperils the globalist vision? Agree or disagree?
Yes, it certainly would. And this was coming from the son of George Soros, complaining that another MAGA-style presidential victory would imperil the globalist vision because they know what's best for everybody. And this is what we have to deal with after George dies. His son is even more ambitious than he is, and he's going to inherit all that money. and he is going to go after, yes, the J6ers, the Trump style, the Trump supporters, and anything MAGA in favor of the World Economic Forum or the globalists in Europe. So he believes that a MAGA-style Republican victory could be the end or worse for the EU than for the U.S. Continue such an outcome will imperil European unity, undermine the progress, according to him, achieved on many fronts in response to the war in Ukraine. What progress? Yes, good question. I don't know what they see with that. But yes, this is the New World Order, the people that want to rule over you. And they have their own vision of what the world should be like. And that's not compatible with the American spirit and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So it's rulers that rule over us. So, and yes, these guys fund a lot of people and a lot of interests and radical interests. And they're also meeting with Kamala Harris, meeting with George Soros' heir, top donors at her private residence, records show.
Good grief.
Alex Soros has there's been a lot of big. It's 21st time that Soros has met with a member of President Biden's administration just in the last couple of years.
I was gonna say though, if the Soros kid, what's his name, Alex, if he met with Kamala 21 times, that's punishment enough. I would just grant him a little bit of leeway. Do you have that first picture of him, or did you close that other that first story where you had that picture prior to this one? I don't know if you closed
this one.
Yeah, this dude kind of looks like if you ordered Bono off of Wish or off of Temu. If you ordered Chester Bennington or the Bono from U2 off of Temu.
I don't know what that is. Temu,
T-E. I mean, it's, I don't know. They advertise nonstop. It's like a cheap Asian company same with Wish. It's just low quality stuff, knockoff brands. It's just junk. Places you order junk.
Okay, I think I've seen those ads on the Federalist.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Like, what the hell is this? Yeah, it's like weird. I don't even recognize what the products are. They're like in my face.
Yeah, I keep meaning to put a post out there. Does anybody else have the sudden see, I'm trying to figure out how to frame it or how to phrase it, but it's like, is anyone else experiencing the sudden, nearly uncontrollable urge to continue never ordering anything on Temu? Because I do occasionally have the sudden urge to continue never ordering off of Temu. But yeah, he kind of looks like a low rent Bono from U2 with those silly glasses. But yeah, the money's going to be flowing. Here's what I was thinking about doing, Blake. Maybe we could figure out how to do this.
All right.
We need to start an organization that on the surface will be as wackadoo as you would expect from the Daily Kos, from who are some of the craziest outlets that you know of right now? Who are some of the worst?
Daily Kos would be one. The Wonket, they're crazy. Daily Beast.
Okay,
I don't know
Beast.
if BuzzFeed is much of a factor anymore. It's probably, Daily Beast is pretty awful.
I want to start an outlet that's patently absurd and collect that Soros money. Collect some of that Bezos money. Like they want to be philanthropists for like these hardcore globalist causes. We should find a way to run an organization that isn't a parody organization, but it is because it's so absurd. But we could just pocket all the money and work for them, putting out things that are mocked and ridiculed nonstop and make the cause look ridiculous by showing what the cause is when it actually reaches its fruition. I want to do that. I had that thought yesterday. I was driving around and I was like, I think that's the answer.
We'll see. Maybe it's worth a shot. But Brian, I've only got maybe 10 minutes left. And we got our headline stories. We got one or two, kind of a 2-part headline.
All right, here we go.
And I'm done. Yeah.
All right, so suddenly this is a big story. Agree or disagree, Blake? Elon Musk should sue the Anti-Defamation League for, wait for it, defamation.
100% agree. I love it. It's finally going to be pushing back. So they've gone too far. and they're absolutely destroying Twitter from behind the scenes. I don't know. I don't pay that much attention, but apparently they are going after all of the advertisers. And I think it's absolutely fine to have the Anti-Defamation League or for people to, stand up to anti-Semitism, but they've gone way above and beyond. So go after the Nazis, go after these, crazy, people that hate Jews or whatever. I'm fine with that. Expose it, whatever. But to lump everybody else into it is another story altogether. So a lot of these crazy leftists would try to lump us in with that. They love to associate MAGA with Nazis and terrorists. So, and I'm sure the ADL, and who knows if the ADL could be behind, shadow banning guys like us, Brian, just because we don't fit a particular narrative, but it's not because we're anti-Semitic, but they love throwing that out there. And it's defamation, and they're supposed to be the Anti-Defamation League. And Elon's had enough. A lot of people are sick of it. So it's been interesting to see people go to push back on this organization, but they've done it to themselves. So here we go. Elon Musk saying looks like we have no choice but to file a defamation lawsuits against the Anti-Defamation League. In our case, they would be potentially on the hook for destroying half the value of the company. So $22 billion is what he's looking at as a lawsuit against them for damages in their advertiser boycotts. And despite the immense harm ADL has done to X Twitter, they still will not be banned in this platform unless they break the law. That's what Musk said. ADL clearly violated terms of service by using the platform to try and destroy its financial viability. It was from Keith Woods, who has spearheaded the hashtag ban the ADL campaign. And he should say, put it to a poll and see what the other users think. I don't know if that's been done to my knowledge, not yet, but people are calling out. The libs of TikTok also saying this. They're trying to crack down on her. And trying to shut down her account, even though she's not putting out anything that's anti-Semitic. But they're going to try to just put, heavy-handed, come after all of their political opposition. So is it really standing up for anti-defamation or against anti-Semitism, or is it an extension of the establishment and the DNC?
Well, I'm very familiar with what a slur is, but who gets to define who qualifies under that slur? Who gets to say what somebody is? It's all back to that Simpsons when Homer becomes the vigilante to catch the cat burglar, and he's out there and they have sacks of doorknobs that they're hitting people with, and chaos is up, and says, "Dad, if you're the police, who will police the police?" He goes, "I don't know, Coast Guard." So it's just like, who gets to define a term and call somebody a bad name and make it stick? It's a very slippery slope. I mean, free speech is there so that you can have access to speech that is repugnant. That's the point. You don't have to participate in it. You don't have to, I don't know.
Right.
Just free speech is free speech. And who gets to determine when someone crosses a line? It's a nearly impossible task. And when you allow certain people to have access to the only way to define and pigeonhole somebody by calling them a slur, well, then, it's a real problem for people like Anti-Defamation League, who's just going to cast this wide net and catch everything in its path and go, yep, everything we don't like is racist. Everything we don't like are Nazis. Everything we don't like hates Semites. It's like, what? I don't think that's how it works. But that's the game they keep playing until somebody like Elon steps up and says, no, we're not playing this. It's too far.
Yeah, no, this is great. And there's a lot of people that are coming together and standing up against this tyranny. It's gone on for far too long. We tried to, play nice or what have you, and they need to stay in their lane. And they've got way too much money and power. So Libs of TikTok is asking Elon to please consider releasing the communications and providing full transparency on the ADL and other organizations who have pushed to censor accounts on Twitter. And here's another story: secret suspensions and shadow bans. Elon Musk blows the lid off the ADL's behind-the-scenes censorship of social media. This goes on for a bit. And what else do we have? There's a few of these articles out of this information liberation. The ADL has been trying to kill this platform by falsely accusing it and Elon of being anti-Semitic, and it's disgusting seeing a lot of these leftist tweets that actually just say that and say Elon Musk is a Nazi, and it's not true. Like, either show proof. I mean, it's I don't know what to compare this to. But you're making false accusations of people. You're smearing them. It's defamation in itself.
It's bearing false witness. Again, it's framing somebody else. That's what the deep state loves to do. They love to frame people.
Right.
People
And there
go
are
along lockstep with whatever their terrible ideas are. They frame them of lies. They smear them. They slander them. They libel them.
Yeah, absolutely. And they want to lump us all together as their enemy. And it's not true. And here you go, Brian. Here's your Temu ads. You know, I've never clicked on this Temu thing. I have no idea. I guess it's like Chinese Amazon, junky stuff. I don't know, but I'm seeing a lot of it. I don't know why that is, even though I've never been on their website, but whatever. Well, let's get back.
It's a big advertising push from everywhere. It's shopping like a billionaire. I'm shopping like a billionaire. It's like every other commercial that pops on is an ad for Temu.
Oh my goodness.
That's just maybe my outlets.
I do want to point out there are real Nazis. And as we saw this weekend, there were neo-Nazis, I guess, outside Disney World chanting, "We are everywhere." And this is coming off, it's really just bad timing after 3 black people were killed in a racially motivated attack in Florida. And then all of a sudden these Nazis start popping up. I don't know. A lot of us probably think that they're actually feds. They run out with their swastika flags, spread anti-Semitic and racist remarks, and destroyed LGBT and pride flags in front of Walt Disney World. And it just seems like this is all set up. I'm not buying it. And they want to just, try to just mix everything together and throw MAGA in this pot or whatever. They're just trying to draw false sides. And these people are disgusting, and they need to be condemned. I thought I had more footage from them. Maybe I don't. Of just showing, yes, these basically masked terrorists.
They switched from the blue shirts of January 6th to the red shirts now.
Right. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to pull up. Thought I had another article. Oh yeah, here we go. Let me pull this up. Will Americans supporting Ukraine finally acknowledge that there are Nazis fighting for Ukraine? I don't know if they do. They love to say that MAGAs are Nazis, but then they support the Azov Nazis in Ukraine going against Russia. But here are the clowns. This is from Ford Fisher's News to Share. Well, let's take a look at these actual Nazi terrorists.
What's on that?
So here's their freak leader with all of his tattoos and all of his henchmen. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean,
all right,
these
really
guys
quick.
should be,
What is that? What does that text say on back to the video on the left?
It says primary source documentary footage for news, historical, and educational purposes only. News to Share does not condone views recorded, because there's a lot of assholes that like to say, oh, well, I guess Ford Fisher's a Nazi, or they love to just, lump all these people together. So it's disgusting, and we need to draw the lines on who's who. And this sort of
and it's been said before, there are probably real racists and real people out there that are into this stuff, but then who's doing the coordinating? Who's setting this stuff up? Who's making the phone calls? Who's having the t-shirts printed? Who's having the flags made? Who's setting up the camera crew? Who's organizing this? Are the feds organizing it? They're taking people out of chat rooms and trying to convince them this is a great idea. you know, to what level is there the Fed involvement here? Like that's always the question when you see stuff like this.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like they're just trying to rile people up and make these people out, put them in with, with Trump supporters. But as far as I'm concerned, we can take all of these neo-Nazis, all of the Antifa, all of the corrupt feds, and just put them all in DC and just cut them off from the rest of the country, as far as I'm concerned. But I do believe in free speech. And they should be all, even though if they're misguided and wacky, that's fine. They should be allowed to express that. And people should be, pointed out. The ADL has a purpose, to protect, a minority or what have you. But you can't have them have too much power. And they're going after people that aren't, the actual crazy right-wing Nazis. But these people are there's misguided scumbags. And this is anti-American, and he's actually in favor of Joe Biden because he's, because they support the Azov Nazis in Ukraine. So it's really convoluted, but it should be pretty easy to pick sides here, and to distance ourselves from this kind of stuff. And I don't want to be lumped in with these crazies. So I don't know. But I mean, is there a big difference between these guys and Antifa to me? No, there's still a bunch of masked terrorist foot soldiers, useful idiots creating mayhem. These guys aren't as violent as the Antifa people, but still, there's a lot of these bad hate groups out there, and they need to be condemned, but they should also be allowed to speak. So I don't have an issue with that, and I don't have them shut down their accounts, but maybe they should be labeled. People should know who these people are. So it's a tough call, but this is America. We celebrate free speech. And I guess everybody's got their own voice. But you shouldn't be targeting all these advertisers. So that is good and bad on all the different sides, I suppose. But we have to just, call it out like we see it. Case by case. But very disturbing developments. I don't have much time. I got about another minute, Brian, so go for it.
I think that's all we got. I mean, there's 100 other stories. We didn't talk about that kid Jaden with the backpack. He won his case from that crazy teacher. That's an interesting one. We got that pregnant lady in Ohio that tried to run over a cop, so he shot and killed her, and then that's supposed to be the new race hoax of the day. So there's a bunch of other stories floating around. I don't know if you had anything else on your radar, but
not yet. But I guess we'll have to put it. Wait till Thursday. No, they are talking about Twitter releasing the ADL files to find out what's going on. There's going to be a discovery to see what they're doing and how they're communicating with these advertisers and how they're basically terrorists in themselves. So,
ecological terror or financial terrorists. Yeah.
Yeah. These advertisers, they don't want to deal with that. And so it's just easier for them to say no, and they don't want to piss off the Anti-Defamation League. So, but they've gone too far. And now it's great to see the pushback. I'm 100% supportive of it. I'm whatever, pro good people, pro Jewish or anybody, I don't care. Everybody's got a right to exist. I'm anti-Nazi, but as far as they all have a right to express their opinion, as crazy as it might be. I'm not targeting their ads or trying to shut them down. But if there's a way to label, if there's some hate groups online, they should have a little label, and it should be transparent. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, you did kind of touch on it though, when they've been calling everything for the past 5, I don't know, call it 20, 30 years. Since if they're going to call everything racist, well, nothing is. If they're going to call everything hate, nothing is. Like it's been so overused. It's been so overplayed. It's just the boy crying wolf that, we've been hearing this nonstop for decades because it's worked. It's worked. But finally, that Overton, the teeter-totter will bounce back in the other direction. So we're going to be following this. What do you say? 32 million? How much is he going for? Do you remember?
22 million.
A good
22
number.
billion.
20. Oh, with a B.
Yeah, 22 billion with the B. That's
a
how
big
much
number.
advertise. That's half the value of the company, because they are absolutely targeting all the advertisers for what? How many Nazis do I see on frickin' Twitter? Very rare. They exaggerate all the numbers.
Yeah.
So when they say Nazi, they're really talking about guys like us, not the actual Nazis. There's not that many of those people. And if you have them, block them, call them out. They should be exposed. It's just like, what's the movie with the Nazis, the Quentin Tarantino movie, Inglourious Bastards? I'm not saying you got to, carve an X or carve a swastika on their forehead, but people should know this person is and these people should be proud of it. Find out who they are, target them. They can be blocked, but you don't have to ban them. You could put out their stupid statements and they should be absolutely, ruined with the facts. But instead, they just want to, they target libs of TikTok or target us or who knows. But we should have transparency on that all. And, it's time for the ADL to come to the table and see what they're actually doing and explain how they're not terrorists themselves.
By the way, get ready for your quote to get taken out of context, like the fine people hoax. When they talk about Nazis, they're really talking about people like you and me. Remember when they clip it out right there and they show everyone?
Evil. Just be honest, right?
They're not honest. The media is not honest. The Democrats are not honest.
No,
that's all they have is race hatred. They live for it. They love it. And Jocelyn saying, do you buy these Nazis out there? Bringing up Antifa. So you're telling me Antifa didn't attack these people, or is it that they are Antifa?
There might as well
how much
be
of
the
these
same.
are Fed-controlled groups for public
Patriot
chaos?
Front. I put Patriot Front up there too. Let's create all the groups, and they can all be free to exist in DC. It's fine. Just get out of America. You don't stand with these principles, so that's fine. I don't.
Well, if you remember, that is the story.
But Brian, I gotta go. I'm gonna be late. I'm already 5 minutes over. I'm already late. So sorry, buddy. Another time. Great to see everybody. Wish we had a little more time on this, but unfortunately, it's a busy summer. So
tell them where to find you, Blake.
He continued. All right, TV's Blake Walley on Twitter and thenextlevelnews.com. Thank you all. Have a great day. We'll see you Thursday, I hope.
There we go, everybody.
All right. Goodbye.
Thank you, Blake. Yeah, the point I was making there is that that was the story of Charlottesville. You've seen where people just grotesquely will put like a tarantula and a scorpion in an aquarium and shake it up or something, and they just fight each other till one of them stops moving. That's what they did. Blake was saying, bring Patriot Front out too. So call Antifa, Patriot Front, and whatever that other group was that was down there with the red shirts now. That's what they're doing. They're just trying to shake up the aquarium and get them to fight and catch it on camera. That's the play. So, whenever there's gatherings, and you better always be careful that any organized situation could be a setup. That was kind of the only point I was making there, but yes, we'll be back on Thursday. Thank you to everyone for participating. I'll give you an update on Speaker McCarthy. We sent another message requesting that footage for January 6th. Again, he did promise that it would be released. It's taken too long. People are getting sentenced. Joe Biggs last week. We need to have the full context of what happened that day. Just calling it an insurrection so you can try to keep Trump off the ballot with the 14th Amendment. It's just, it's ludicrous beyond belief to think that President Trump would invite all of the gun-toting, Second Amendment loving Republican voters out to DC to angrily protest a stolen election, and not a single shot was fired. There was no insurrection attempt. It was a protest, and then some people did some things. That's that. But yeah, we're seeking clarification. We're seeking some balance. We're seeking more information from January 6th. So I'll keep you posted if/when we get granted access to that footage. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and we're going to work on that angle. But yeah, we're going to continue unpacking the news of the day on that angle as well. Just trying to make sense of all the stories. Yeah, that one with the. So I'm just hearing pieces of the story. I'm not. Lady goes and steals liquor. I guess there's a 6-month pregnant lady is the initial reports, stealing liquor at a store. And then when cops stopped her, she tried to run one of them over and was shot and killed. I mean, is this really what's going on? They're going to repeat 2020 with the masks. Oh, a Biden has COVID and they're social distancing and wearing masks. Again, are they really going to try a repeat of 2020? I don't think there's any way it could work. I don't think there's. I didn't think it would work the first time though, but I know where my resolve stands. I know where my feelings are on this. So we'll see how it all plays out. But we'll be back on Thursday. So in the meantime, The New American Media is where we are. So follow us in all the places. On Truth Social, The New American Media. On Rumble, The New American Media. On Spotify for the podcast, search The Agree to Disagree Show. YouTube, youtube.com/The New American Media. Instagram.com/The New American Media. I said Rumble. We're on Odyssey too. The New American Media. We're also on Telegram, TNAM, and TNAM Chat. Find us there. TNAM for The New American Media. Follow us in all the places. So I appreciate each and every one of you participating and all the comments. And definitely enjoying all the comments as usual. But yeah, we'll unpack the rest of the stories next time. So signing out. Special thanks to Blake. Follow him on Twitter at TV's Blake Walley and The Next Level News. All right. We'll talk to you again soon.